All right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention.
And welcome back to another episode of Toxic Masculinity. We are here to offer up our political satire approach and views on topic matters that, we may tend to entertain, we may offend, we may even defend anybody and everybody. We are a couple of crotchety old farts that have a bad habit of speaking the truth, but we won't let a few facts get in the way of a good story. We believe in America and Americans, and if this isn't the program for you, well, then I suggest you change the channel now. We still believe in freedom of speech, and we'll rub your face into it like the cow pie of reality and maybe make you scratch your head or scratch your ass. Hopefully, not at the same time or with the same hand. I like that there, Tony. We'll weave that one in there for you. All right.
Why?
And
You won't sleep tonight.
and my co-host is none other than the man of men, Don the Predator Frye, and I, his trusty sidekick, Dan the Beast Severn. Always faithful companion. I don't know, is Quinn with you tonight?
Yes, sir. She's underneath the table.
Oh, she's a little bit under. Well, probably take a little bit of a beauty rest right now.
It's cooler on the floor than it is,
And tonight's guest we have is a special guest, Mr. Eric Carroll, who runs a podcast himself called Dad Talk. And actually, Eric, how long ago was it that you and we did speak and we did a short little episode for your podcast, but I just don't remember how long ago that was.
Actually, I think, Dan, the first time I met you was after the premiere of After the Cage. And then not long after meeting you, I was wanting to interview you then. There was so much going on. I met you again at Hazard Fest. And that's when I saw your sign about asking me about toxic masculinity. And I said, this is perfect. So, and that's where we did that. So I think it's been at least 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to say the last couple of years, I mean, it's almost, you almost want to call it a do-over, you know? So much has gone wrong, haywire, sideways. I don't know. There's a few other words I'm sure we could throw in there of what has happened last 3 years, but let's just say that not a lot of it was not good for America or Americans in any way whatsoever. But then neither was it for the family unit in a lot of different ways. So, you know, I actually I'm glad. Did you have the beard last time? Because I don't remember the beard the last time.
No. Actually, when I found out I was coming on here, my mustache only gets so long. So I hope I'm okay. But I tried to grow this out a little bit to look a little bit more manly for you guys tonight.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
Keep trying, kid. Keep trying.
I'm trying.
You got. I mean, see, I always tell people that, my mustache, I try to keep it kind of trim and proper. Down, just kind of like you got to take a weed whacker or a bush hog there through it. Just the other day, I think he found half a Sam sandwich in his mustache. So,
And a puppy chewing on it.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your podcast, Dad Talk. I mean, we'll give you a chance to plug this, but then we'll talk a little bit then about you and your own personal life, right, as well.
Yeah, man. So I started Dad Talk about 3.5 years ago, right before the whole COVID escapade that went on. I was going through a transition, my job. Went out after
that.
Well, we'll get into that. I'm fighting that war right now too, but it was a point in time where my job shut down and I didn't know what I was going to be doing. And at that point in time, I was fighting to be a father to my child. I started going to attorneys and I found out just how corrupt the family law business is.
Yeah.
When I started looking for resources for men that are going through divorce, I couldn't find any. And it seemed like the only way that I could get inside my child's life is if I go hire these attorneys who are probably some of the most crooked people I've ever seen in my life. So that's where I got the idea of starting the podcast. I didn't know that it would take off the way it did. Before we had our first episode, there was around 10,000 followers and an inbox full of people. And I went through this. The family court system is the crooked thing I've ever been through. I've heard some of the most horrendous stories. I've seen kids killed, parents killed. You name it. We have an epidemic in this country, and fathers have been a very big target on that.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, yeah, in so many different ways. I mean, I totally agree with you. The court systems do not support the male role model really whatsoever. I mean, they're just going to take a hard hit in the process, and I would think any judge worth his weight in salt would know that he's got to have both parents involved, no matter if the two can't get along. That's one aspect, but don't let the child suffer because of it. You know, you may not like the better half, but at least let him. You know, if it's just switching on and off, like 1 week here, 1 week there. I mean, that's the way they have to do it then for the time being. But no, it's a lot of times the kids are just like pawns in a chess match. That's all they are. You know.
It is, and unfortunately, right now, I mean, it's very weighted towards the mother, and some of these guys can spend every dollar, do everything possible, and it still isn't enough to get their children. Our children should not have a price tag put on them, as I say.
Right.
It feels like we're having to buy our own children. That should be a right, not a fight.
Yep. No, I totally get it. So I mean,
Especially when it's the woman who couldn't keep her pants on, you know.
Yeah, but it's always the man. He couldn't keep it in his pants, right?
Yeah, it's always a man. But yeah, the woman can't keep her pants on, but she wants the fucking house, the car, she wants the kids, she wants money, you know. I mean, you know, if you'd have kept your skirt down, your pants up, you behaved yourself, you'd have that, you know, and you'd have a loving husband too.
That's it, man.
Well, I tell you what. I mean, I think. Well, I don't think enough is talked about in when it comes to relationships. And I go, I'm not certain if Frye and I are the type of people that really should be talking about relationships, but just through our own experiences, people I think tend to get married a little too soon. I know that was even hard, like for myself. I mean, it was. Uh, I have 5 children, and a couple of them are married now. And I'll say that I had the birds and the bees talk at one point in time. And then when they wanted to then when they told me that they would want to get married, it's kind of like going, well, it's time to go back behind the woodshed once again. And I said, I want to meet your potential mate here for life. All right. And because I want to have a little discussion with the two of you. Well, they were both a little bit up in arms about this. I said, well, no, it'll be a public place, so they don't have to worry about me, going crazy and going after the boyfriend or nothing like that. It'll be a public place. I go, I can't kill him right then and there. If I kill him, then I got to kill all the witnesses. I
Right.
go, your dad's too old. I can't. I might get through half of them, and then it's like too many witnesses left over. So I go, you'll be good to go. So I got to use a little bit of comedy to settle the situation down. Well, I mean, I'll say that because I painted it. It's not an easy picture. I think a lot of times what people they get infatuated with this idea because they see all these movies of the wedding and all this glorious type of things uh, and having a child. There's a lot of work when it comes to a child. I mean, I know that when I had the very first child, it was even out of the hospital. I mean, he barfed on me, peed on me, puked on me. I'm thinking, hey, put it back. It's like this. It's not paying no attention. It's just going to do whatever it wants, and it's cries for no reason whatsoever. And when that child starts crying, you just go down the list. Does it have a wet diaper? Does it have a poopy diaper? Is it hungry? Does it have gas? And then when you even read through the list, it's still crying. You know, I've been there those sleepless nights where hold a child on my chest out in the middle of the room, basically asleep, rocking back and forth because if you can hold it close to your heart, it's like that same sensation of being inside the woman's womb, and they tend to fall asleep a little bit more. But yeah, no, it's being a husband and being a father. are both not easy jobs, and you have to have both people working nowadays because a one income household is not enough. Not in the world that a lot of our leadership has created for us.
You're not kidding there, man. And I mean, unfortunately, having to send your kids to public school, you talk about the birds and the bees, the crap they're getting taught at the public schools.
Oh,
It's very scary. I mean, it does take two to make it, but at what point do we say we're going to keep sending them to public school? Because I tell you what, man, the stuff I've been seeing over the past couple of years that they're feeding in these kids' heads, it's scary. We're in scary times, man.
no, well, again, we are definitely strange times with just lack of leadership. We don't have real men that are actually leading, and we don't have real women that are leading. That's the problem. And then there'll be a lot of people up in arms saying this. I go, no, I could give two shits if a person wants to go and turn themselves from a man to a female. Hey, that's one of the things that inside the United States you can do that. And you have Bruce Jenner. Okay, when you look at Bruce Jenner, he was like, it shocked me at the time that all happened because he was on the front cover of the Wheaties box and the whole 9 yards. He was the decathlon gold medalist, and I'm thinking, holy moly! Now this guy wants to become a woman, but even he says, should these males be allowed in female sports? No, I mean, to me, it's like going just make a third category. There's male sports, there's female sports, and now let's have the transgender games. I can give you they would be colorful. Okay, again, they'll be colorful, and you might see some of the most wackiest commercials. Well, I'm sure Budweiser would be happy about that one, now wouldn't they?
It's crazy. It's crazy. You're talking about that, Dan. I just got back this past weekend. I was gone for 2 weeks for making a film on the Jeff Younger case, where they've been trying to transition his son, since he was 6 years old. They want to medically transition him, chemically castrate him. State of Texas has gave mom custody in this situation. He spent $1.5 million. Now they're allowing her to move to California.
Okay, was dad leading this charge, or was mom leading that charge about having him transition, or both?
Mom. No. Dad's the one fighting against it, and he lost custody for fighting against it.
Really?
And yeah, to top it all off, Mama's a pediatrician.
Fucking nut.
Wow.
Dude, the schools, when the dad would take the kid to school as boy, when he would leave, they would have a dress and a wig to put on the kid. His name is James, and they call him Luna. And right now, $1.5 million he's spent. It's done absolutely no good in our court system. But one of the people I got to talk to about this when I'm making this documentary was Riley Gaines, the 12-time collegiate swimmer who had to give the trophy to Leah Thomas. And she's out trying to get people to speak up about it, but there's so many people afraid to speak about these issues. It blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. It's nuts.
When
I said scary time,
but okay, common sense is not common. I mean, the reality is, you're either a man or you're a woman. And if you want to go up and do something differently, again, like I said, Bruce Jenner, I had, I had my own come into Jesus type of moments there. I was thinking, okay, Bruce Jenner is converting himself into a woman, and I think
he still has his Franks and beans though, don't he? He hasn't done the fucking conversion.
Well, see, now I don't know any of that portion right now.
I think he's still got him, man. He's just
it's a big woman. I met him. Huh? Big. He's big.
Oh, I bet.
Gee, I mean, whatever. He's big. I met him at CPAC.
Jeez.
Well, meanwhile, I like the fact that at least he speaks out against it, and he is, he's living that role that we talk about. So again, to me, he gives it credence. So I can't even refer to him still even as a female now because to me he's still just Bruce Jenner. I mean, even though it was go by Caitlyn, you know.
I mean, Caitlyn has been speaking out, or Bruce has been speaking out about this happening to children. I don't think there's anybody out there, if you're, an adult and that's something you want to do, might not agree with it, but it's your life, go right ahead. But when you're talking about minor children, giving them
Right.
the puberty blockers and cutting off their genitalia, at what point did this even become acceptable to do? And if you speak back at it, you're looked at as like a terrorist, or they're going to cancel you. Now, this is our kids that we're talking about here. And I think we've gotten here because, again, too many people are afraid to speak up because they're afraid of being canceled. And the longer that people stay silent on it, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Well, we can't be silent.
No, I totally couldn't agree with you more on that, Eric. I mean, you got to speak up. I mean, that's one thing it's in your freedom of speech, constitutional right, freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms. And it's we do live in very much a cancel culture society. Well, I would tell people, I say the title of our podcast exactly doesn't to say that we're politically correct individuals right now. We're willing to take our chances. So to me, it's like going, if the truth shall not set me free, well, I'm still going to move on with my life no matter what. Now I'm still going to conduct myself the same way, whether I have a platform or not. But I know there's other platforms we could easily go to if we need to. So, where can people find you on your own platforms for Dad Talk?
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Facebook and Instagram's our biggest. I've recently been dipping into Substack because I know some of this is going to be controversial when I talk about it. So I want to make sure we're not facing censorship. You can join at dadtalktoday.substack.com. I'm trying to make all of these films independent because I know once I come out and start making these, the cancel culture is going to come for me. It already has. But again, just seeing, my buddy Jeff, I mean, he's been going through this for 4 years in the state of Texas. People look at the state of Texas and think it's a red state. I'm going to tell you, man, I mean, many people just sat by and watched this happen to the kid, but now they're allowing mom to move to California and there's nothing he can do, and I have to put myself in his shoes and say, what would I do if I was in that situation? I don't even want to imagine that, but, so Substack is something I'm looking at just to kind of get away from might come in the future.
Sure. Well, I hope it doesn't come to that.
I hope not either.
How'd you make out in your trial?
Never happened. I've been to so that's funny. First attorney I went to basically told me it was cheaper to keep her. I was a man. Didn't have a chance to start sending her. His advice to me was to get back with her. And I won't go straight into my story. It was crazy. So I go to another attorney. You got the greatest case I ever heard. I can help you with whatever. But I need 10,000 on retainer just to get started.
Right.
Let me know it was going to be more.
Yeah.
So I was a single father raising 2 daughters out of a broken marriage. And I didn't have $10,000. And it makes you feel like if you don't have the money, you can't be a father. But if you don't go and pay that money, then you become a deadbeat, right? And then toxic masculinity is coming into this. So fathers are so easily canceled. I went and talked to another one, I think just last year. He wanted every dime that I had just to get started. And then told me it'd be $400 an hour after that. And if they're high conflict, that it was just going to keep racking up. They don't ever give you an exact amount because one of the first things they do when you go through divorce is get a financial statement and know how much you got in the bank. Usually they'll run that all the way out. And at the very end, they'll say, I think you should settle. It's a crooked thing. And, there was a lot that I've found out since I started doing this podcast. I didn't know in the beginning. The government makes a percentage off of every dollar paid in child support, for one.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
Title 4D of the Social Security Act. It was made after Reagan did no-fault divorce. Reagan later said it was the worst thing he ever did when he brought in no-fault divorce. But there were so many moms going on government assistance, it was becoming a drain to the system. So the federal government came up with a way to give money back to the states to help offset some of those costs. And along the way, they found ways that they can make money off of it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It pays a lot of the state's programs. So yeah, there is incentives out there to take the father out of the home. Section 8, we've seen in the Black community, 50 years ago, I think it was around 18% of the Black community was without a father in the home. It's getting near 80% now. They started Section 8, basically said, we'll give you food stamps, we'll give you government assistance, insurance, but you can't have a father in the home. That's the one exception. In so many ways that they have taken the father out of the home, and our government has its hands in it. And most of the, like I said, the general population has no idea this is going on. And now we're starting to see the consequences from everything else that's rolling down the pike. And it all starts with the family. If you don't have strong families, you'll never have a strong country. And the proof's in the pudding.
Wow. You just educated me on a couple of things that I was actually not aware of as well.
Well, I wasn't either, going around the country and talking to some of the people and finding out, because I could never wrap my head around, why is this such a hurdle for men to be fathers to their own children? It doesn't make sense. You would think that, strong families and that nuclear family would be, something that everybody would want. It should be cherished. Anything but now.
Right.
And okay, high rate of divorce. That what about inside of a family unit right now? What can dads be doing more of now versus let's say you're in a household that you are married, and you do have a child or two, and what are some more good advice for fathers? I mean, I got some ideas that roll around in my head right now, but again, this is your time to shine here.
Yeah, I mean, be careful, sit back and think about things before you do it. And I would say that for mothers and fathers.
Get a prenup.
Yeah, well, dude, like the younger case where they're doing this to his child, he had a prenup, didn't hold any weight. And so a lot of the
guys didn't have that. He probably never had that in the prenup. You can't chop my kid's dick off.
Yeah.
But
no, I don't think anyone in their right mind would actually think of putting that into a prenup.
No, you have to now, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently it's changed. Shit.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
To be really a forward thinker in a lot of different ways. Holy moly.
But I think in marriage, it's going to have its ups and it's going to have its downs. Hallmark's made that version of the butterflies and the perfect marriage. There's going to be times where you don't want to look at each other. There's going to be times when that spouse across from you is going to be saying stuff you need to listen to and you can be better at. And same goes for her. A lot of couples don't listen to each other anymore. Like, we all make mistakes. We can all be better. And I would say that, to most men, self-evaluation, it goes a long way. I talked to several of these men. I didn't do nothing wrong. It's like, okay. Yeah, we know better. We all make our mistakes.
That's, again, was the conversations I had with my children when they were looking for significant others. I go, if you want to have a little teleport into the future, all you need to do is simply look at whoever you're dating, go look at their mom or their father, because that is what your mate's going to probably look like, another 30 years down the road, somewhere at that 20 to 30 year mark right there. So, you might want to cut and run now as opposed to stick around. So it's a lot of times you are a product of your environment.
It's true. And you can either stay there or you can change it.
Yes.
Realizing it. I've seen people that use that as an excuse to stay the same. And I see people use it to say, I'm going to do something completely different. Go out in there, and there's some of the most successful people I've met.
Yes, exactly.
It definitely plays into that.
Yeah. The sad part is you don't see too many of the people choosing route number 2. They typically, it's easier just to go with route number 1, But no, it's the father type role has actually diminished a great deal inside the United States, and a lot of it is just
that's what we're feeling as a country. I mean, you can't even get anybody to sign up for the military anymore. You can't get people to be a policeman anymore. It's just,
well, I mean, look, I mean, if you drive around your community, look how many employees. I mean, I should say all these places that are listed that they need employees.
Mhm.
There's jobs that if someone says that they can't get a job right now, I don't know where they're looking. I see jobs all over the place. You may not like the job, but to me, it's like going, if someone was really down and out, there's jobs. You may go to, again, I always used to use McDonald's as an example because it was that high school, that should have been that high school job that you did, just for, 1 or 2 years at most. And then you realize, I don't want to be flipping greasy burgers for the rest of my life. I'm going to go get a real job. But during the pandemic, when you see McDonald's is offering to pay up to close to $20 an hour, it's like going, unbelievable that they pay that much. And they're looking for managers and things of that nature. Like that, I it was never supposed to be a career move. Owning one might have been a career move, but working at it, no. But times be a change, especially during this whole pandemic where everyone was in this lockdown mode and our job forces, everyone was simply just calling it in, talking about it. Not too many people actually doing the work.
You're right, man. During 2020, I toured the Northeast, and if you did not get something to eat by 5 or 6 o'clock, and you was on the road thinking you was going to go to a restaurant, you had another thing coming. There was nobody open, and we finally asked somebody. I thought maybe it was the mandates. It's like we can't get any workers. Nobody wants to work.
Right.
It was culture shock for me. It really was.
Yeah. Again, same thing for myself because I kept traveling to states that I could conduct seminars and speaking engagements in, and so I mean, even being on the road, knowing that okay, it's starting to get a little bit late in the evening. Will I find a gas station? Will I be able to get gas in my vehicle? Because gas stations were shut down earlier at night. Again, whether or not they had employees or just due to whatever COVID type of restrictions that they had going on inside their states. And now you look at all the stuff that's coming out about it after the fact, you know, what was the whole COVID thing really about now? And what is the real actual truth behind it all?
Right.
No one's really revealed, no one's really pulled back the curtain here yet, exposed the wizard yet for all of this. But there's a lot of uh, point and counterpoint to everything. So
Yeah, but they say socialism works. I mean, look what happened when everybody was getting free money. You couldn't get nobody to work anymore.
Right.
That's just where so many different problems. Entitlement is a whole other issue that we're starting to see, with the kids, no work ethic, and supposed to be fulfilled by their job. I think there's something very healthy about a kid getting a job that sucks because it teaches them that I don't want to do that the rest of my life. But man, that was nuts to see that. You couldn't even get nothing to eat. Everywhere was closed. I hope we never see that again. But with our political system,
give us some outlines of it now. I mean, of some nice, some more positive type of things that of what parents can do inside of their household to raise a more loving type of a household, or a more father vested type of a household. I mean, it's because again, your whole podcast is about dad talk, about how men, keeping men, be a real man, and be a man of your responsibilities, being a man of integrity. So again, I think a lot of that stuff has been lost in the last couple of years as well.
I mean, I think it all starts at the top, the relationship with your spouse or your partner. It really starts there and making sure that you guys are communicating. It's harder for, I think, divorced parents because you got two different sets of rules, and kids definitely know how
they're typically just doing this all the time, and because they're never especially once the D word is said, there's no pulling that one back, you know.
And that's why the nuclear family is so important. When you got both parents that are, they might not always agree, but they're doing it together. Once there's two separate households, the kids know how to play that. And unfortunately, a lot of times they're going to gravitate towards that parent that's, from what I'm seeing, Dan, is people are being more of a friend than they are a dad or a mom. You can't be your kid's friend. That's not to say you can't get along with them and have fun, but you're there to provide that roadmap for them. So I think making sure that your spouse, or if you have an ex, that you are on the same length as them. If you don't get along, at least get along enough for the kids to be able to communicate well together. Take care of yourself and your health for one. And I think doing that with your kids is also another thing. Make sure you got activities and that you're spending the time. I can only imagine what it was like for you, you, Dan, and I'm sure you as well, Don, being on the road all the time. The one thing we can't get back is time.
Right.
So make sure those, the kids are getting that time
Well,
from you.
yeah, and that's something that, again, you just got to look at it. What is your job? I mean, there's a lot of people that maybe they work an 8 or 10 hour a day job, and they clock in, they clock out, and then maybe it's a whatever 15-20 minute commute that they go there, they come on back. My father, for instance, he worked in the automotive industry. A lot of people in the state of Michigan, they had the big three automotive dealerships, and a lot of people, that was kind of like the utopia upon high school graduation, go into the various automotive type shops and get a job, and there's where you'll be for the next 30 years of your life, and then you're going to retire and have your 401k and things of that nature, whatever you put into the system. So, I mean, growing up on a farm, it was extra hard in the sense that you had to get up and do chores and stuff like that before you got taken care of, before you had to take the walk up to the catch the school bus, and then later in life, when you finally got to drive to school, that was pretty cool. But you had responsibilities. I don't see very many responsibilities being really put upon young people. They're not required to do chores, and they're not required to do certain types of duties and stuff like that. And there should be some type of a regiment inside the household so that they understand how to conduct themselves. It's kind of like you said earlier. A lot of adults want to be the child's friend. You know, being a parent it's not an easy role. I mean, it literally, I say the word no more than ever. I've got grandkids now, and they're seeing grandpa is. Sometimes they don't think grandpa's very nice because grandpa doesn't roll over. grandpa keeps them. I keep grandkids accountable, because even I've had my kids kind of look at me kind of cross-eyed. I go, I did not allow it with you. I'm not going to allow it with them. So it's kind of going, I like to see grandkids, but I'm not going to let them, be wild, you know, animals here in my house. They gotta toe the line, same way that I expected of you guys. I want the same thing. So
And nothing's too small to make them earn it. Every little thing, I got a chore list in the house for the kids that this is what I want you to do before you go. And if you get any TV time or anything, it's just teaching them that in order to get something, they have to earn it instead of just giving it to them. I
Right.
think it's a lost thing too.
Well, you said that perfectly. You earn the privilege for this. I mean, it makes something cool for them. I mean, it just, the big thing was for my kids to try to get up and then to pick your room up a little bit and make your bed. Just do those couple things. Pick your room up to where, even if it's you're just throwing everything underneath the bed, at least, pick up your room, make your bed, and good to go. It's kind of like going, mom or dad's not going to come in your room to find your dirty clothes. You get a clothes basket, and as your clothes get dirty, start putting them in that clothes basket. Come on down, and then, but eventually, when they finally get to an age, you start to teach them how to use the washer and the dryer. Just common sense type of stuff. I still remember when my oldest son said, "Well, when am I going to start getting an allowance, Dad?" I go, "Well, son, please describe what is this allowance all about?" Well, some of my friends get X amount of dollars on a weekly basis. I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, and they get it for just making their beds or picking up their toys in the room and stuff like that. Well, you live in my house. That is that's not even on the list. That's something that you have to automatically do because you live in my house. When you live in your house, you can do whatever you want. Right now, you live in my house. Otherwise, you can live outside. There, I have a couple tents. You can live outside and see how much you like living outside in your tent at that point. So again, just if you want the privilege of living inside the house, there's just a couple of things that you have to toe the line on, and I'm feeding you. You don't have a job yet, but if you want to start to earn something, I go. So a lot of my kids all were my janitors inside my training facility. They all clean toilets. They all mop mats, run vacuum cleaners, dust this, do that, and then the other jobs are painting this, painting that. But I always tell people it's like I don't have none of my kids are janitors today. Now again, nothing wrong with being a janitor as your job. To me, it's like someone's got to be that person. But I had hoped that my kids would do something a little bit more loftier than just that. So and they all have various degrees or have different professions. So I'm proud of that aspect. So, but there's a cost, and then there's also you have egos, and you got to bump, and sometimes you got to give a little ground to gain a little ground as well with them.
And you just described, some people would say what you were just saying was toxic masculinity. You just described tough love. That's what a father does. Here's the ground rules. This is what I expect of you. And I think that sets the kids up for success as they get older. You go to work, you got expectations, you need to meet them. And that's why I guess it's hard for me. I came from a few different failed relationships. And now from what I'm seeing with these other dads, if they step in and I want you to work for it. You're not going to be on your phone all day long. You're not going to go out with your boyfriend or whatever. You know what? I'll just go to mom's house. Mom will allow them. And it's really taken a lot of the fathers and gave them no power to be inside of their children's life. It's like, if I don't get what I want, I'll just go over here because they'll allow me. And the kid's going to go where the glitter is.
Sure.
And I know I've been through that. And I'm going to tell you, it sucks. And so you got two different options. You can either cave and give in to the kid, or you can say, no, you know what? I'm going to remain your dad. And then they go run off to mom.
Yeah, no, it's tough on this one. Mr. Frye, you're being kind of quiet right there. Are you just kind of like taking this in, or you're
I'm
just
just
waiting?
listening you talk, Mr. Severn. Shit. Is there any legal
Or
consideration?
you're waiting
Right.
on like the big tsunami to come on in?
Yeah. Is there any legal considerations or rights that single fathers should be aware of? Or,
you talking about rights that they should be
yeah.
aware of?
Legal considerations, legal rights.
Well, good. Well, let me help
favor.
out down there. Is there like good law groups that are really more vested for the man that you've come across?
No, the ones that say
Okay.
they are usually a gimmick. The scary thing is, guys, the majority of our legislation are attorneys.
Right.
So whether it's in your political process or in the courts, it is stacked. I'd say for a lot of the guys that are going up against that process, and this ain't easy. I've seen guys that have learned the law themselves, and they do what's called pro se, and they'll kick some of the attorneys' butts that I've seen. But like I said, it's not easy.
Called what?
Pro se. They go and learn the law, and they file everything themselves, so they don't have to go through an attorney. It can be scary for some of these guys because it's not about whether you can plead your case. It's like learning a whole completely different language. So if you don't file that paperwork just right or that right process, you can get screwed. There's a lot of different pro se groups out there. I wish I knew of one off the top of my head. But where these guys can go and learn that and take the power away from the attorneys is many times they're just there to collect a paycheck. I've talked to so many of these guys that pay the retainer, and as soon as they get the money, they say, I can never even get them on the telephone anymore. Yeah, it's just a swamp out there, man. But
Well,
you know,
but you said, like, look at most of our politicians. They have some sort of a legal background. Why is it that why don't we have more women and men that actually have business backgrounds that know how to run a successful business, not a business that failed. I would want to have successful business men and women
We had
leading
we
our
had that
country.
we had that in President Trump, and they cheated him out of the successes that he had. They're called lawmakers. I mean, so they get these lawyers in there, and they'll convince everybody that, well, if they're not a lawyer, they won't know what they're doing, and they're not capable of doing it. So everybody's going to be a lawyer to get in there in the first place. That's bullshit. You need some business people. You need some doctors, like Senator Paul from Kentucky. He's great. Shit, he's intelligent. Yeah. But these people, they just got everybody convinced, you've got to do this, you got to stay in line, you got to follow this. These guys know best. No, they don't. I mean, that's why the country, we're what, $30 trillion in debt?
Yeah.
If that's true. I mean, if there really is, a deficit, or deficit could be a big work on the whole country, in order to keep getting money and money and money.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys.
Go ahead.
No, I just going to say that the term that Don uses is, it's a professional wrestling term, but just it's like, for the knowing that this is not a real match. It's just a work. And
Yeah.
that's where, I want to make sure that the listeners understand that when Don uses a term like that, it's kind of like going, I always say everyone's looking to see who's running the show, who's going to finally pull back the curtain, and who is running the show on everything. But
McMahon. I'm just
well,
what do you think about his new mustache, Dan? I'm just curious. Have you seen it?
It's great. I think it's great. I think it fits him perfect, man. He's such a heel, and it's perfect for us.
does he have the pencil line one, or is that what he has?
Yeah, you got the pencil line. He's just a heel, perfect mustache.
Well, no, I mean, well, Vince, typically you've always seen him play the role of a heel, and I think he really enjoys playing that role.
Yeah.
Well, now
he's good at it. He's great at it.
But the question though is it a work?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He has destroyed a lot of marriages to come through that, that career.
Well, yeah, professional wrestling, it's a very tough career on a lot of young people, and it's a career where not many people are going to really see the financial rewards. If they are, it's only for a certain short period of time. And will they have enough savvy to salt that away, invest it to where they can walk away from it? It's a tough industry. And again, I always tell people, if you're going to go into business, take 1 or 2 semesters of it, because professional wrestling does teach you a great deal about marketing. Yeah, so it's and how to make something out of nothing.
What would you say was the hardest between the two, MMA or wrestling, for you?
Wrestling, definitely wrestling.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's wrestling. I mean, what was that line that Dan Gable said, that anything after wrestling is a piece of cake?
Yeah, man.
After you've wrestled.
Huh?
Come on, Mr. Frye, you got to bail me out there.
Who came up with what line?
What was it? Was it Dan Gable? Dan Gable with the line that said that after wrestling, everything is easier, or was that somebody else?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm giving the wrong person the credence here right now.
Yeah.
Maybe bottom line, wrestling, it's a tough sport. You only ever get out of it what you're going to put onto it, and it's because it's the definition of wrestling is a team sport based upon individual performances. You still have to walk out there one on one, mano a mano.
I think he's asking about pro wrestling. You
Oh
asked
yeah, yeah. You're talking about a shoot, which I figured that as much. But what about professional wrestling? I obviously I know it's
yeah, it's all
I'm not
political.
calling it fake.
It's
I'm not-
Okay.
no, but it's a political, and you gotta know, who's asked to kiss, and you gotta be able to make money. If you don't make money, then they don't want to have anything to do with you. You'll never get up here. And they'll leave you here. But even if the promoter doesn't like you, whether you make money or not, they'll still stuff you down here. It's
Yeah, Don is correct. There's a lot of political aspects of that industry, and it just you could just rub somebody the wrong way, and that didn't really mean to, and then also it's like you're kind of being blackballed for the rest of your career, you know. Yeah, when there was actually a couple of different opportunities, when there was an ECW, there was a WCW, there was a WWF. When you had at least three major organizations, I mean, still the reality is you wanted to work for one of really the top two. The top two that really made the money were WCW and WWF. At the time, ECW, it was more of a kind of a cult type of a following because they were so hardcore in all the matches that they did. You saw a lot more of those fluorescent bulbs and ladder matches and just hardcore wrestling.
Yeah, man. I know it couldn't be easy being on the road for those guys. I've been a huge wrestling nut for years, so I remember when you went to the WWF because he was my favorite UFC fighter. I remember I was like, that was cool. You came after Ken Shamrock, right, to the WWF?
Yes, yeah. I mean, they were talking to both Ken and I at the same time, but the reality is that I was living a kind of a busy schedule even at that time. I was working for the NWA National Wrestling Alliance, but then NWA was trying to put me underneath their umbrella to make me exclusive to them. But I'm like, well, what if another company approaches me and you guys don't need me for the same weekend? I go, I should be allowed to go work. And they're like going, but they were looking at protecting their champion. They're looking at protecting their title belt. I said, I'll do that. I mean, and that's anyone that was contacting me. I'm saying that I'll be happy to work with you, but because I'm the NWA champion, I cannot be out there losing to Again, I always use the example of I can't go out there and lose to Doink the Clown. Yeah, so I can't be out there just losing. Period. So I just protected myself, and it all worked out.
Did you go back to the Alliance after WWF?
No, I kept working with the NWA all through it all. I never left them. I mean, it was the cool part is, yeah, I was able to carry the belt out, and even like the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I was able, in part of my entourage, I had to clear it with the ownership at the time. And I told him, I said, you don't have to worry about Dan Severn pulling any kind of goofball shenanigans. But I also had to educate them on the history of the belt and some of the people that through history that held the belt. So by doing all that, it worked out for me, and I was able to have the belt carried on out, and then proceed then to win uh, UFC number 5 with and having holding up 2 different belts. So and that was again UFC number 5, and where are we at number? We're closing in on the 300s, the 300 realm now.
280 something, yeah.
Yeah, I just know that we're getting closer and closer to that 300 mark. So it'll happen because I mean you got to look at the partnership that came together with both those organizations. They're stronger now than ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I was curious what you guys' thoughts was on that with WWE and UFC combining.
Oh, it's interesting. It's interesting. they're they're in they're inheriting a lot of the contractual things, you know, from WWE.
Oh, okay.
You know, where
Gotcha.
they
Yeah, they'll there will be.
where they completely own the fighters, you know.
Oh, okay.
But you will see some of the fighters that will end up going into professional wrestling, but you're not going to see really vice versa. You won't see the other way happening around because CM Punk showed that did not work out well at all. So it
You know, at least the guy tried. You know,
yeah, no
Yeah, you
again
gotta give it to
I'm not trying to cut him down. He did, he stepped out there and then
give the guy props for that. You know, I wasn't crazy about it when it first happened because you got a top card, you know,
yeah,
and you know he took a shot. You know,
yes, he did.
respect that, and then you know, and it didn't work out for him, and he had to start all over again with the pro wrestling, I guess.
Yep.
What did you think somebody should have stepped in and like, hey, this might not be the greatest idea. Let's start down here on a lower level and work your way into it.
People aren't smart. People with egos aren't smart.
I
Did
guess
you have
not.
a? I'm sorry. Please
Oh, no,
finish
go ahead, Dan.
Well, no, I just do you have a website that people can come and if they want to tune in? I know you're talking about your podcast, but is there a website for it, or is there if they want to get in contact with you, or know where to catch more episodes of Dad Talk?
Yeah, dadtalktoday.com. You can go to our website. Like I said, I'm really trying to build the Substack just because I'm realizing a lot of the stuff we're going to need to say might not be allowed to say in some of the places. But Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Truth, Clout Hub. I'm on all the different social media sites, but mostly Instagram and Facebook right now because they're still the big ones. But I got several documentaries that are coming out. One about Jeff Younger, you know, him trying to fight against the transition of his son. Got another one I just made about Ray McElrathbey. Disney made a movie about him a couple of years ago. He was a Clemson football player that adopted his little brother because their mom got caught smoking crack. And so he snuck his brother on campus with him. And the NCAA found out and was going to kick him out, but they voted to let him stay in. It's a really heartwarming story. And
Wow, no, that's a great story.
yeah, there's several different ones that are coming out that we've been shooting throughout this year. I've been doing more of the films than the podcast, but I still pop on there occasionally. I feel like there's not much I could say that I haven't already. You know, when it comes to that particular issue, it does a number on you. It really does. I hate seeing the fathers go through what they're going through in this country, and it feels like going to the politicians and stuff sometimes is just like beating your head up against a wall. But I have faith that it's going to change.
You're just pissing in the wind sometimes talking to these people.
It's what it feels like, man, and it's a lot of hard work to put in. But I do feel it, you know, a tide changing right now. I mean, Riley Gaines stepping up and doing what she did. I don't know if you guys have seen What Is a Woman with Matt Walsh. I think he did an amazing job. You know, exposing that issue for what it is. More people are starting to get a little bit more vocal. We cannot be silent in these times, guys. It's how we got here.
You know.
Oh yeah, yep. And
What
like I said,
the only thing necessary for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing.
That's right.
well, actually, I think that's a Mr. Frye. I think that was a good note there to kind of draw things to a close.
Oh, you must be hungry.
Well,
Must be
how did
dinner.
you guess?
Yeah, it's dinner time, Mr. Severn. Okay.
Yeah,
Partner, nice meeting you.
Yeah, man. Nice meeting you guys.
Eric Carroll podcast, Dad Talk. That was dadtalk.com.
Dadtalktoday.com.
Dadtalktoday.com. Okay.
I had to put the today. It was about a $2,000 difference in buying the domain.
Understood. Today.com. Excellent. Eric, a pleasure again to see you after all this time and knowing that you grew some facial hair just for the podcast here tonight. Thank God. What else will people be doing? It's okay for the men folk to be growing some mustaches and beards and some more hair if that's what they want to do. But I don't think we want the ladies to be doing that here now. Now we still want women to be women and men to be men on the Toxic Masculinity podcast. Eric Carroll, thank you for being on here tonight with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, partner.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.